everybody, Full Moon Cat here with a Carrion Fields tutorial. This video we will be focused on character creation, so this will be the first thing that you do when you interact with Carrion Fields. And before we get into the actual character creation, let's go ahead and set up our MUD client for use with Carrion Fields. So if you're playing this through Steam, or if you've downloaded Mudlet, which is kind of the officially supported MUD client for Carrion Fields, then it'll come with a certain defaults enabled. Those aren't always the greatest for playing this game, so what I highly recommend is going to your preferences, selecting input line and turning on this feature here, auto clear the input line after you send text. Also under command separator, I think the default is 2 semicolons. Just go ahead and reduce that to 1 semicolon. That'll make your life a little bit easier in the future. Alright, so let's get into character creation. You'll notice that when you log in, the first thing you see is this lovely ASCII skull graphic, and then the text, "By what name do you wish to be mourned?" This is your login prompt. If you enter a name that has not been used previously, then it will start the act of character creation. If you use a character name that has been used previously, then it will be logging in with that character. So what makes a good name in Carrion Fields? There's a couple of things. By the rules, the name has to be able to fit within a fantasy genre, so think like Dungeons and Dragons, Lord of the Rings, that sort of thing. It can't be the combination of 2 words, so it couldn't be like Fire Lord. That might sound like a cool name, but that's not an adequate name for Carrion Fields. And it really should be something that is adequate for the race that you choose. And we'll get into races here in just a bit. If you want to check and see what other people have named their characters in the past, go ahead and go to carrionfields.net, click on Forums, go to the battlefield, and this will show you characters that have been recently deleted. So we can scroll down through this and we can see a bunch of different names that people have chosen. You can get a good idea then for what sort of names people are actually choosing in this game. So for example, this one here, Hack. I would expect that to be some sort of a giant race because they're very simple, monosyllabic words. If I click on that, sure enough, that was a fire giant. So you can kind of go through here and read the different names that people have chosen. If you have trouble coming up with a name, I highly recommend using a name generator. So if you Google fantasy name generator, this will be the first one that comes up. This one's really nice. It has a bunch of different generators. So for example, if you wanted to choose an elf, you could click on elf names. You can generate male names, you can generate female names, or neutral names. And this is kind of nice. I often use this at least as a launching off point to get an idea of what the character name might be, and then maybe I'll take one of these and alter it somewhat. But there actually have been times when I've just taken a name from here and just run with it. So you might be asking, how would you know if somebody has used the name previously? Well, it's easy enough. If you just enter it into the command prompt here, it'll either accept it or it won't. You could also search for the name in the battlefield. Over here, you can go to search, and search any word there and see if it comes up. But if you do just kind of choose a name and go with it, let's just choose one of these guys, and I'll just copy their name since I know that it will not be accepted. Go back to my Mudlet and enter that name, and it'll say, "You are denied access." The reason that I was denied access is that name is retired. You cannot choose names that have been used in the past. So if you do choose a name and you enter it and you get this, you are denied access, don't think that something bad has happened. You've just chosen a name that's been used before, so choose a different name. To reconnect to the game, go right up here to the left-hand side, click on Connect, choose Carrion Fields, and it'll connect right back up. So I'm just going to choose one of these names from the generator. That's definitely not a good one. Let's see. Here we go. Probably no one's chosen this weird name before, so I'm going to go ahead and copy that and put it over here into my mudlet. And this is first names only, so if you get the last name, delete that. All right, it'll ask me if I got it right. Yes. Is it an original name? Yes. Is it a combination of two names, like Mary Jane? No, it's not. Is it in the dictionary? I highly doubt it. Oh, I chose yes on accident. So if you do choose yes on any of these or the wrong thing, it'll be like, hey, you chose the wrong thing there, so go ahead and come up with a better name, right? So let me just do this again since I'm an idiot. All right, yes. It's the original name. It's not a combination of two names. It's not a slang term. And it is acceptable. All right. So the next thing is it will choose your password. Type that in twice. Are you new to the realm of Carrion Fields or to mudding in general? I highly recommend, if you're a new player, choose yes. This will give you access to some features and information in the game that will help you along, and you're going to need all the help you can get, trust me. So the first thing that you do once you're through the name creation is you start building your character. So you choose your race first. If you're a brand new character, I highly recommend choosing one of these races, human or half-elf. And the reason being is that they have a 0 experience penalty. The experience penalty, what that basically means is that that adds more experience for every level that you gain in the game. So as an elf with a 400 experience penalty, it's going to take 400 more experience for me to get from level 1 to level 2, and then it's going to take 800 more experience to get me from level 2 to level 3, and it just compounds from there. That isn't really a huge impact when it comes to the time that you're putting into the game, because experience does come pretty quickly. But the problem with the experience penalties is that when you get up into the player killing range, where players can actually fight you, that will put you up into a higher PK bracket, they call it. So an elf at level 30, for example, could fight a human at level 39. And 9 levels of difference between those two characters obviously puts the human at an advantage. So as a brand new player, you want to be the one with the advantage, not the one fighting against that advantage. So 0 experience penalty is important. I would say don't go half Drow, because Drow have a vulnerability to mithril, meaning they cannot wear mithril armor, and mithril weapons hurt them a little bit more. And you'll find that there's a lot of equipment in this game that is mithril, especially at the early levels. So half Drow is kind of a big problem. So I would recommend either human or half elf. The nice part about humans is that they don't have a vulnerability to anything, so you can wear all the equipment. Nothing's going to hurt you more than anything else. The nice part about half elf is their stats are a little bit better for some of the classes that you might choose, and they also see in the dark. That's kind of an important thing for new players, because when you can't see in the dark, sometimes you'll run into situations where you're either in a cave or it's nighttime, and you'll find yourself blind, which really, really sucks. So what I'm going to do is just choose half elf. Also, you have to walk around all day as a human. In real life, why would you want to play a human in a game? That's what I think. All right, half elf, I'm going to go male. And then you choose your class. This one is a little bit more of a difficult decision. There's a lot of different classes. They all are very, very different. Here in character creation, you do have access to help files. So if I wanted to find out something more about shamans, for example, I might type help shaman. And I would get access to that help file. I'm not going to do that right here because what ends up happening is the content of that help file then scrolls all of this information off of my screen, making it harder for me to then go back and see all of my other options. So what I recommend instead is to look at help files. Go to carrionfields.net. And right here, you've got search help files. So if I want to find out about assassins, I can just type in assassin, look for the one that I want. Here we go, assassins. And I can read up a little bit about assassins. Also on carrionfields.net, if I click on help, I can find information about both races and classes just right here. So let's see, Assassin. And this is a little bit more helpful than the help file because I can actually see the skills that I would get as one of these characters. So it gives me a lot more information, and it's also not going to scroll all of the text off of my screen in Mudlet. Speaking of assassins, they're probably the best first character class you can play. The reason being is that they're pretty survivable, and they don't really have anything complex going on with them. So if it's your first time playing the game, I highly recommend you just choose Assassin, even if you're just going to play that character for a couple of hours to kind of get a feel for what the game's like. You can always just delete that character and create a new character. But the Assassin is going to get you a nice grounding in just sort of the basic mechanics of the game. So that's what I'm going to do here. Assassin. Speaking of classes, though, if you don't want to go Assassin, there's just a couple of classes that you probably shouldn't pick as a first-time player. Necromancer and Anti-Paladin. Those sound like really cool classes, and they are thematically, but mechanically speaking, they're very difficult to play. So it's kind of a pitfall for new-time players. They want to choose these cool classes because they sound awesome, but what ends up happening is that they really struggle, and it's a bad experience for them. So just don't choose Anti-Paladin and Necromancer, and you should be safe. Okay, so the next thing you do in your character creation is you choose your stats. There's a lot of information that comes up about stats. Please read it. There is also kind of a hidden trick to this that longer-term players learn very quickly, and that is that there's 3 stats that really matter a lot at level 1, and that's going to be Intelligence, Wisdom, and Constitution. And the reason for that we can find out if we look at the help files. So if you look at Intelligence, for example, there's a table. And this table determines how much you can practice based upon your intelligence. So the higher your intelligence, the more percentage gain you get when you practice a skill. We'll go over practicing in a later video, but basically the bottom line is this is something that a level 1 character really, really wants. You want to be able to practice the most percentage on a single practice that you can possibly get. So my half-elf character, for example, can get 21 intelligence, getting me to 56% skill on a single practice. So that's what I want to aim for at level 1. That's very important because it will conserve your practice sessions, basically, and those things are very, very valuable in this game. Wisdom has another table, kind of similarly dealing with practices. So depending upon your wisdom, you'll gain a certain number of practices every time your character levels up. And that is based upon your wisdom. And it's kind of more in general blocks. So you've got 2 practices from 15 to 17. Below that, you only get 1 practice. This block of wisdom here from 18 to 21 gets 3 practices. So wisdom for a half-elf, for example, isn't really super duper important, especially for an assassin. They're not going to be casting spells. Wisdom also kind of determines a little bit how much mana you gain. Assassin's probably not going to be very starved for mana, generally speaking. So anything from 18 to 21 is going to be fine for me to gain these 3 practices per level. And then finally, Constitution. There's not a table here, but the bottom line is that Constitution determines how much hit points you gain when you level up. And obviously that's a good thing. So starting from level 1, you definitely want to kind of max out your Constitution so that when you level up, you're getting the most hit points you can get, so that by the time you get to those higher levels, you've got a nice base of hit points to deal with when you're fighting people. All right, so back in the game, let's look at what this does. This gives you a block of stats to choose from, and what I recommend you do is just hit no a bunch of times. You just don't even worry about what these are right now, because what I want to do is I want to see the range of stats that I can accept. So get a good page of these. just so you can get a good idea. So as a half-elf assassin here, I can get, it looks like, either 18 or 19 intelligence. Obviously I want 19. Wisdom goes from 17 to 18, which again, let's look at our wisdom table over here. So both of those would give me different amounts of practices. So if I didn't train my wisdom and I accepted 17, I would only be getting 2 practices per level, whereas at 18 I'm going to get 3. So probably a good idea to go ahead and try to get those 3, right? So I'm going to want 19 intelligence and 18 wisdom, and then constitution, it looks like the most I can get is going to be 18 there as well. So that's what I'm going to try to shoot for, 19, 18, and 18, which coincidentally is what the bottom one gives me. And I'm really not going to worry about strength and dexterity that much. If you wanted to kind of try to micromanage this, you could, but you're going to be getting training sessions to level these up as you gain in skill. So it's really not anything to stress about too much right now. You can also boost those stats with equipment. So past level 1, those become a little bit less important in terms of management. So I'm just going to go ahead and accept these stats. I've got my 19 intelligence, 18 wisdom, 18 constitution. So the next thing you do is you choose your alignment. You can choose either good, neutral, or evil. This is somewhat dependent upon the race that you've chosen. Some races can only be good or evil, and some are naturally neutral. If you're familiar with Dungeons & Dragons, you're probably familiar with kind of the concept of what the difference is between good, neutral, and evil. In this game, mechanically speaking, good characters get the advantage of being able to use a skill called Request, where they can go up to an NPC character of adequate level, and they can actually ask for a piece of gear, and that NPC will give them that piece of gear that they can then wear. That's a very nice thing. But the problem with good characters is also they're not allowed to kill good NPCs. You're actually penalized if you do that, and that can be a real problem as a new player because there's a lot of things in the game that you might miss out on because you just don't know they exist. You're not able to kill those NPCs, so you can't kill them and check out what they're carrying. So a nice thing to do as a new player might be to choose either good or neutral, depending upon what your goals are, basically. Evil I would not really recommend for your very first character. For me right now, I'm just going to go ahead and choose neutral for my assassin. The very next thing you choose is your hometown, and if you're a very new player, just choose Galadon. Don't worry about these other hometowns. Choosing a different hometown besides Galadon can have advantages depending upon your Cabal choice or other goals that you might have for your character, but save yourself the headache as a brand new player. Just choose Galadon, don't even worry about it. It's the main city. It'll put you kind of central to things that you want as a new player. And then finally, you choose your ethos. That is orderly, neutral, or chaotic. Again, if you're familiar with Dungeons & Dragons, you probably know what this means, but there's some text here that you should read if you're not familiar with those concepts to kind of get an idea of what sort of character you might want to play. I typically choose chaotic because that fits my personality better. And we're done with character creations. It'll take you through sort of news updates and some other informational stuff that might be very interesting. Definitely go to the Discord, join Discord. It'll help you a lot as a brand new player. There's a really friendly community of people that are willing to help you, and you can ask your questions there in the newbie channel, and they will definitely assist you on getting further in this game. And that's it for character creation. It takes us to the Adventurers Academy, which will be the very next video in this tutorial series. So if you're interested in that, then check it out. I hope this video was helpful to you, and enjoy Carrion Fields.